Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this video we will discuss second language acquisition theory named behaviorism. Previously we have already discussed what mentalism was, Chomsky's mentalism, and now we will discuss B.F. Skinner's behaviorism. So let us discuss what this behaviorism is. A word behavior we commonly use in our life. Sometimes we say the student's behavior is not good, the child's behavior is not good. But here in behaviorism, it has slightly changed meanings. So we need to understand first of all what behaviorism is. What is this theory about? Behaviorism means that something that happens to humans or animals, that whatever the animals and humans they do, it is based on conditioning, not based on thoughts and feelings. As we all are blessed with brain, we think with our brain, we have thoughts, we have feelings. But behaviorists, they say that we learn many things, almost all of the things, without having any interference of our mind, our thoughts and feelings with that particular issue. And this is behaviorism is actually in psychological disorders, because behaviorism is a term for in psychology which is used, but here we are using in second language acquisition as B.F. Skinner has applied it. But in psychological disorder, the patients, those who suffer from psychological problems or mental problems, they are treated by changing their behaviors. Like if a patient is continuously responding to a specific thing, so the doctors and the psychiatrists, they try to change his behavior from that particular thing. Once the behavior is changed, the psychological disorder is somehow cured. So it is actually a theory of psychology, but here we are applying it as B.F. Skinner has applied it in second language acquisition. So behaviorism, I repeat again, it is something that the behaviorists, they claim that whatever the animals that the humans they do with the conditioning. Conditioning means that whatever is told to you without applying your mind, you start behaving in that particular way. So that is called behaviorism. And in psychological disorders, the patients, they are treated with it. So let us discuss something about B.F. Skinner. B.F. Skinner was American psychologist, and as I already told you, because in behaviorism we have 3 to 4 main writers in psychology, those who are the founders of behaviorism. But in applied linguistics, our focus is on B.F. Skinner, because he had applied this behaviorism towards second language acquisition. So the main father of behaviorism is John B. Watson and Ivan Pavlov. These were the two psychologists and the behaviorists to whom B.F. Skinner was much impressed. He was convinced, and he was actually follower of these two. He followed the same school of thought which was followed by Watson and Pavlov. Then his life history: 1904, he was born in 1904 and died in 1990, spent a life of almost 86 years. Behaviorist, social philosopher, inventor, author, psychologist. You can read a lot of his life by writing B.F. Skinner Wikipedia. You can get a lot of information about him, that how many books he wrote. He wrote 21 books and 190 research articles. That is a huge achievement that he did. And he was professor in the Harvard University. Harvard University is in America, and it is considered as one of the most expensive university of the world. So this was all about a short biography of B.F. Skinner. Now let's move on to the principle of reinforcement which he has given to us. Now what this reinforcement is? Reinforcement means the process of encouraging a belief of pattern or behavior. Like something happens and our behavior is positively established towards it. That is called reinforcement. What B.F. Skinner believed, he says that free will is just an illusion. It has no reality, it has no facts. So when we say that we cannot act upon whatever has been told to us, or whatever our stimulus or reinforcement is forcing us to do, but it is based on our will and on our thoughts and on our feelings, B.F. Skinner completely rejected this idea. He says that a person, while acquiring anything or learning anything, he is not having any free will to act upon. That he is not free to have to set his movements or to set his acts. So whatever, once the behavior is established, he doesn't need to apply his mind, and he starts doing the things in the same way as he has learned. And then again, human acts as dependent on consequences of previous action. No, they believe that whatever we do, we do not do by thinking something. Although thinking process is involved in, but in learning and acquiring, there are some actions that are already present in our subconscious. So our previous actions, they are again repeated over and over again. The examples you can take, for example, we watch a cricket match. As nowadays Mohammad Rizwan and Babar Azam, they are doing their best, performing best in their batting. So this is a cricketer who's a batsman, and he's scoring all the time many runs, like as I told you about Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, as they are doing nowadays. So it is a behavior that they have learned what batting is. But this example that I am giving to you, it is actually at one time it supports B.F. Skinner's idea, and when we explain this example, it also rejects B.F. Skinner's idea. Yes, that is true that a child who has been given the bat since his childhood, and he's been taught how to play cricket. So he takes a bat, he goes there, he doesn't need to apply his mind, and he starts playing cricket. He's having a bat, he's hitting sixes, fours, taking runs, sometimes he gets out. B.F. Skinner believes that once a bat, as I'm giving you an example, according to B.F. Skinner, if we put his behaviorist theory in this example, he believes that a batsman will not apply his mind while playing cricket. So because his behavior is established, he knows how to play and he will carry on playing. But when we come to the understanding of a batsman, they themselves believe that it is a game of mind when they are in the ground. They are thinking about every ball, how they have to face it. So they are actually applying their mind. Without applying mind, nothing can be achieved. But Skinner says that your mind and your thoughts and your feelings, they have nothing to do in your behaviors. But as I gave you example that they have everything to do in our lives. That is why this B.F. Skinner's theory was rejected, because he completely rejected the idea of having thoughts and feelings. So I mean, a batsman who is a very good hitter, but he doesn't apply his mind, he cannot make successive scores in every match unless and until he applies his mind. So thinking has to be applied. Although behavior matters when you learn something, you have learned something, but after that, to execute it in a more specific way, we have to apply our minds. So he says that our actions, they are based on our previous actions. Whatever we do, our behaviors, they are based on previous action, that whatever we have acted upon in past, the same things they keep repeating in our lives. Now he talks about his what we call it, the conclusion of his theory. What he says that if the consequences of an action are bad, there is a high chance the action will not be repeated. Definitely. I mean, someone who is cooking in a kitchen, suddenly a woman who is cooking in a kitchen, suddenly she touches a very hot utensil and her finger is burned. So what will happen next? From now to onwards, she will be much more careful that she must not move her hands or to take her hands near the hot utensils when she is in kitchen, because the reaction is very bad. She is burned, her finger is burned. So this example you can take, that once if taking the same example, that a woman who is cooking in a kitchen, she makes a very good dish. What would happen if she gets an appreciation? The act will be repeated over and over again, because everyone has liked it, it has been appreciated. So after 2 days, 3 days, the same dish will also be presented to the guests or to the family members. Why? Because the action has received a positive response. So once any action receives a positive response, there is a probability that the action will be repeated over and over again. But once the action gets a bad response, as I told you that the finger may get burned, then it is high probability that the action will not be repeated again. This is the conclusion of theory of B.F. Skinner, that whatever we do in our lives, we receive positive responses, our behaviors are established. We receive negative responses, our behaviors are established in a way that our acts will not be repeated again if the response is bad. Let's talk about, then he talks about operant conditioning and operant conditioning chamber. That is the famous example of the rat and the pigeon, that he actually made an experiment because he was himself much impressed by the experiments of Watson and Pavlov, who are the founders of behaviorist theory. So he also developed a chamber, a box, that is also known as Skinner's box. So in Skinner's box, there were few installations were there that for negative response and for positive response. Like wires were there, some switch buttons were there, like a bell is ringing and the animal, it starts running to eat food, the bell is off, the animal is sleeping or sitting. And even when the food is not dropped in the box, when the bell rings, the animal starts moving because the behavior is established. In the same experiment, he also found out that once if there is not any external behavior, that is having impact on animals' behavior, which is in the chamber or in Skinner's box, the animals, they act upon their own standard behaviors. How? Like whenever a food morsel is dropped in the box, the animal starts moving to the top or to the down. Like they have a habit, like whenever they receive food, they believe that the animal starts believing that if he had 2 rounds of the box, he will receive receive any piece of food. And if sometimes the animal taking the round, sometimes going to the up of the box and going again down to the box. So this is the behavior which is established in self the animal, and animal believes, whatever the bird or the animal is in the chamber, they believe that while doing this, as I told you that the animal takes 2 rounds and he believes that he would get a piece of food, although he has not been trained for it, but this is the instinctive behavior of the animal. And the animal starts believing that once he takes 2 rounds of the box, he will get a food. So whenever the animal is hungry, he starts taking the rounds. So these are the, even if there is no bell, the bell is not ringing, because when the bell rings, the food drops and the animal moves. Even if the bell not rings, if there is no external behavior that is established in the animal, there is an internal behavior that is established inside the animal, and animals start believing that they will get something if they start moving. And there was also punishments and rewards. The conclusion of the theory of B.F. Skinner, he also talks about punishments and rewards. Like when an animal moves and he suddenly gets an electric shock, for example, there is a wire in the chamber, and if the animal gets an electric shock, he will not move again to that type again, even if the food is dropped there. And if he doesn't get any electric shock or doesn't get any punishment, he every time gets the food, the reward, then the behavior will be established. If negative behavior is established, that is, as I told you, that the animal moves but there is an electric wire, he gets a shock. When an electric shock is given to the animal, he will not move towards that area again. So the behavior, the repetition of the behavior, the probability of repetition of behavior becomes less. As far as the rewards are concerned, when the rewards are given, the behaviors are established more positively. So not in the animals, but in common day life, you can also apply it. Like a small child, once you start appreciating, you start saying something about the child, he is ready to repeat the behaviors again. But once the child gets punishment by the parents, a small baby, 2 or 3 years, so the probability of the things get less. Although the children, I mean, they do the same, even if the parents they forbid them, but they do the same. But the probability and the chances become less. So establishment of behavior, it is based on the rewards. If you want someone, if a doctor or a person or the parents, they want that their son or their patients, they do not repeat the behavior in a specific behavior, so there is a punishment. Punishment doesn't mean that to beat anyone or to anything. Punishment can be in several ways. If rewards are given, the behavior is established in more specific, more energetic, more powerful form. But if the punishments are there, there will be no chance of repetition of the same action again. So rewards and punishments are actually the base of behaviorist theory, and also positive and negative behavior. So reinforcement, a key concept of behaviorism. Behavior is a consequence of environmental histories of reinforcement. Again, the same. Reinforcement is the primary access but shapes and controls behavior and occurs in two ways, positive and negative. Reinforcement, again, I repeat it, it means that to establish a behavior. Reinforcement, its meaning in dictionary is to establish a particular behavior. So to establish a particular behavior, it can be a positive behavior, it can be a negative behavior. So positive behavior is established when we receive rewards, and negative behavior is established. Although negative behavior doesn't mean all the time that it will be negative or having negative impacts, but it means that negative behavior means that the probability of repeating the same incident or same act would be less as compared to the positive behavior, positive reinforcement. So conditioned response could not account for child's ability to create or understand an infinite variety of novel sentences. Now this is the criticism which actually set aside all the experiments created by the behaviorists, because as they say, the behaviorists, they claim that anyone, person or an animal or a child, he will be taught through behaviors. If it is true that the animals and the human beings, they learn through behaviors, so it means that we would be limited to those specific behaviors that we have learned, like how to behave in a specific situation, how to behave in a specific gathering, or what would be our behavior towards any incident, towards any news. These are the specific behaviors. But what happens in second language acquisition, when we speak a language, we have to create infinite and unlimited sentences on our daily basis. If we count the sentences that we speak in our Urdu, Punjabi, Saraiki, Pashto, Sindhi, Balochi, Pothwari, whatever the languages, I am taking all the names of the languages that are spoken in Pakistan. So whatever the languages we speak, even a layman or an educated man, we speak thousands of sentences on daily basis. When we speak thousands of sentences, if our instincts are restricted to behavior, then how can we produce infinite sentences? So to produce infinite behaviors and infinite sentences, spoken versions, we have to apply our mind. At this time, the theory of behaviorism, it is mostly rejected by the mentalists and mostly rejected by the psychologists too. Although a portion of psychologists, they still believe in behaviorism, but behaviorism has a specific limited exposure as compared to mentalism. Both the theories, they are separate. But once we talk about learning a language or spending a good life by learning a language or acquiring anything, then the mixture of these two is more reliable. We cannot rely only on behaviorism. We cannot only rely on mentalism. We have, I mean, we learn many things through behavior, and we learn most of the things with our mental approach, or by applying our mind. So the unlimited sentences, they can only be spoken by applying our mind, our thinking, that we think how to produce sentences, which sentence should be produced, what words we have to produce, because there is no such behavior that we have learned how to reproduce the sentences or how to multiply the sentences. So this is the major criticism on behaviorist theory by the mentalists, and this was Chomsky. Actually, there was a book written by B.F. Skinner that was verbal behavior, written somewhere in 1957 or 58. You can check the exact date on Google. But Chomsky gave a review of verbal behavior. That review was actually a criticism of that verbal behavior, and he believed that there is a language acquisition device in the mind that makes, or that establishes us in our mind, that we can produce unlimited sentences. So it was Chomsky who criticized B.F. Skinner's verbal behavior, a book written by a research book written by B.F. Skinner, and that was criticized by Chomsky. That is all about behaviorism, and in our next video we will discuss the difference between, although we have already discussed the difference between behaviorism and mentalism, so we will discuss it again. If you have any questions, you can post your questions in comment section.